Good afternoon. This is Professor Muhammad Rabnawaz, and with me is Kimberly Ware. We are from Michigan State University School of Packaging. And the purpose of this presentation is to create awareness in the community and society to promote plastic recycling. Here is the outline of this presentation. We are going to talk about how big plastic waste problem is, what are currently being done to address this, and how can community play an effective role. So plastic is used widely, it's ubiquitous. Every one of us is using 125 pounds a year. And why is this? The reason is plastic is a miracle material. It has extremely good performance, but very low cost. Plastic is saving our lives by offering sterile medical devices and pills and those things. It is also extending, you know, the food shelf life, thus eliminating hunger. And if we just completely wipe out plastic from use, there will be more hunger and more death. So we need to continue to use plastic, but we also need to overcome the challenges of the plastic waste. So here is over the year plastic waste management data. And if you look into this one, 75% of the plastic is landfilled. And approximately the remaining 25%, most of them is incinerated for energy, and only 8.5% of the plastic is recycled today in the US. And really, we need to improve it. In European Union, it's 20% plastic that is recycled today. And the plastic that enters into the ocean, that's another big problem. When it enters the ocean, it accumulates there because it's durable. And then the living animals and organisms living and residing in the ocean, they ingest plastic, they can be killed by the plastic. But there is another dark side of this plastic waste in the ocean. Because of the UV light and the stresses and the mechanical degradation induced by the tidals, they convert these plastic into tiny particles. And those tiny particles contaminate our food chain. So essentially, we are at risk and we need to address this problem. So I want to give you an update about what are currently being done to address this problem, right? The first thing is we need to understand what are the plastic recycling technologies that are commonly used today. One of the most common way to recycle plastic is primary recycling. And that means when you recycle a plastic bottle and you convert that into the same quality bottle, That is primary recycling. The second one is secondary recycling. And that involves the conversion of recycled bottle into fiber for carpet, for shirt, or into a bucket. The third category is tertiary recycling, where you convert plastic into chemicals. And the fourth one is incineration for energy, burning plastic to recover energy. In 2018, Sustainable Packaging Study, it was reported that 85% of the respondents, they think marine environmental pollution created by the waste plastic is their top concern. Low recycling rate was second in the rank. 71% showed concern about low recycling rate. And when the same respondents were asked to rate their actions to alleviate these problems, the number one on the scale was, we need to increase recycling rate. Okay. And there is now a national plastic pact that was launched recently. And the purpose is by 2025 to ensure all plastic packaging that are used will be 100% reusable, recyclable, or compostable. And that means the community needs to come forward, play an effective role, because when it comes to the recycling, it means community needs to put the recyclables into recycle bins. Okay. Now, how can community play a role? How we can play a role as a community in promoting plastic recycling? So the first and foremost thing is we need to recycle, recycle, and recycle. And we need to ensure to put the recyclable items in the recycle bin, not in the trash bin, and vice versa. We shouldn't put the trash non-recyclable items in the recyclable bin. It creates separation problems. One of the common concern is many of us do not know what are recyclable and what are not recyclable. And in the next few slides, I'm going to tell you, okay, in a quiz format, and you judge yourself if you are aware with those or not, to test your understanding about what are recyclable and what are not. So let me start this quiz. So what do you think? When you gather your recyclables, they should be loose or they should be in a bag? And if you're thinking they should be loose, that's a true answer. Okay. Number two, which of these materials can be disposed of in your recycling bin or a cart? A bug killer, batteries, paint? And the answer is none of the above. And it tells us that every item that we might think is recyclable, no, they are not. The other question is, do you think all metals are recyclable and we should put them in your recycling bin? That's a false statement. No, all metals are not recyclable. What about these old garden hoses and electric cars. Do you think they are recyclable? No, they are not. What about plastics? Bottles in the kitchen, laundry, and bathroom. Are they recyclable? They are recyclable. Make sure if there is spray nozzle, you remove it. What about these styrofoam containers? No, they are not recyclable. What about these small electronic devices and batteries? No, they are not recyclable because it can create fire hazard. What about these plastic bags? No, they should go directly to the retail. Shouldn't put them in my cart or bin. Okay. Now, with that short quiz, you might got an idea that recycling, understanding what is recyclable and what is not is challenging thing. But we need to do a few, if we look into and do our due diligence, look into a few things, we can figure it out what are recyclable in my area and what are not. For example, you can check your local community recycling website to see what are accepted as recyclables and what are not. If you live in an apartment or condo, ask your property manager to provide you the list what are recyclable and what are not in your residence. Now, there are certain materials that are accepted across all communities, like aluminum cans, paper, platinum cardboards, water and soda bottles, high-density polyethylene bottles, think of detergent bottles, milk bottles. Materials that are often but not always accepted include carton, glass, pizza boxes, and other metal cans. Okay, so cans, most of the time they are recyclable. Same with the pizza boxes, but not always. Okay, so we need to work on these kind of things. Very good. Now, when we ask you to put everything, there's mixed recyclables in recycle bin. Do you think what happens to them? It goes into materials recovery facilities where they are separated into different streams, like aluminum cans are separated to make new aluminum cans, plastic bottles of the PET are separated, plastic bottle of the HDPE are separated, paper is separated, glass is separated, and then they are converted into different items, products that we can use. I will give you two examples. You know what happens when you recycle your PET bottle? It is converted into different products. And if you look into this one, you will see what ratio of these plastic bottles are recycled to what kind of product. For example, most of them are converted into fiber to make carpet, shirts. Then there are other things like they are converted into sheet and films, strapping, and some food and beverage bottles. Similarly, when you recycle milk containers and detergent bottles, like HDPE, they are converted into different items as well, like plastic lumbers, garden items, pipes, sheets, etc. So what else community can help with? And the thing is, first, we need to reduce the amount of plastic that we use. So we can set family goals. Hey, for example, let's use less plastic, less plastic bags, less plastic cups. For example, let's say no to plastic cutlery. Let's engage kids, right? Yeah, if you engage kids, they're very, very effective in this. Build the habit to use reusable water bottles and coffee cups instead of using those disposable ones. And if you don't need a straw, don't use one. Find alternatives to tea bags, for example, right? Tea bags are problematic because they're tiny, they They can easily leak into the environment, and that can create a big problem. Okay, so this is how the community can play an effective role. Well, these were just a few guidelines from my side and Kimberly Ware, but of course you can further look into the websites that I provided the links there on the slide. And you can also look into your local municipality website to see what are recyclable and what are not. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box, okay? Or send us an email. Thank you again for attending this session.